Welcome home, Raiders! This week, the end is nigh for World of Warcraft. The Scroll of Resurrection is no more. Challenge modes are ending soon, and even Gary is getting the nerf bat. But is it all doom and gloom? No! We've got some big news. This is CTR 131.
You're listening to Convert to Raid.
Convert to Raid.
The podcast for raiders in the World of Warcraft.
The Convert to Raid Command Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today is February 16th, 2014, and it is now 11:18 a.m. Central Standard Time. And thank you so much for joining us from all around World of Warcraft land. And hello. My name is Pat Crane. I'm your host of the show. I'm also called Zug around Airy Peak. And I'm still raiding, still doing the thing, of course. And the players are also here. They are. They're waiting in the wings. And we'll first start out in serene Seattle. Right? Yes.
Yeah.
It is Darius. Hey, buddy.
No more snowy Seattle. It's actually been really nice here.
Good.
Compared to the rest of the country where I heard you guys got a lot of snow.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of snow. And we keep on getting more snow and cold. It's great.
I keep
awesome.
getting pictures from people back home in the Northeast.
Right.
Saying, here, I know you missed this.
Right.
Have some snow.
Here, have some snow. They mailed it to you.
It was in the 60s earlier this week. It was amazing.
I don't like that. Well,
it's supposed to rain later in the week. We're supposed to get up to an inch an hour.
Well, it is Seattle.
The next couple days.
It is Seattle. It's supposed to rain. All right, let's go out to La La Land, to Hollyweird, California, to the Funky Monk. It's Coltrane, everybody.
Fortune cookies say.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Holding the door open for a clown is a nice gesture. Maybe it was my delivery.
No, it wasn't the delivery. Your delivery was fine.
Nice.
Your delivery
gesture.
was fine.
Not gesture.
Your delivery was fine.
Huh?
Unfortunately, your delivery was not the problem.
At least have something to do with WoW.
No, not always, baby.
Nothing.
Come on.
Nothing.
Not always.
Oh.
Well,
I'm seeing a lot of no bongos.
What?
No bongos.
I see a lot of
Zero
LMFAOs.
Right.
No.
That stands for Laughing My Frogs. AO.
Yeah.
That's what that stands for.
That's it.
I got 10 out of 10 bongos. That was sent in by Crazy Train, a Draenor warrior on Airy Peak. So thank you very much, sir.
Oh, there we go.
Woo.
There we go. Well, thank you for participating as always. Can't say much about the thing, but whatever.
You're going to tickle your funny bone. Come on there, lad.
I
had mine surgically removed.
Oh, jeez.
Probably for the best.
Right.
Probably for the best. All right, so what's been up this week, fellas? Maybe, Darius, you can kick it off. What's been going on with you, man?
Been playing my pally like last week. Not so much LFR this week. I still had to do a little bit. Did some Siege LFR, and that is still very trying. It's less the just LFR and more just the people in there just yelling and angry and that kind of stuff just makes for an unhappy experience.
Well, and it's weird because I actually did LFR this week on one of my tunes, and yeah, it was kind of it was a little hard sometimes.
I heard that Rageaholics Anonymous meets there in LFR.
They do.
They have their meeting.
The problem is they're not trying to get over it. They're not trying to get over their rage. They're just raging. That's it.
That's how they get it out. They get it out in LFR, and then they're better.
Then in real life, they're better.
Yes.
And I hope it works for those guys. I really do.
LFR stands for Looking for Ragers. That's what it stands for. So it makes sense.
Right. This is not Convert to Rage, however.
You're right. No, it was Nazgrim. Is that what the
that's where they tend to? I mean, that's where the group tends to congregate. The just angry people. You walk into the room and it's just 15 people just yelling at each other. That was fun. We had
that was fun.
we had a group this week, and it was with I did it with a couple people from the guild, but it was mostly just random LFRs. And we got to Nazgrim, and this is after wiping on the trash a few times and wiping on shamans a few times.
Yeah.
So we get to Nazgrim, and we're short 5 or 6 people, so we're waiting. I'm tanking, and there's another guy tanking, and he's actually being pretty cool. And we're just waiting for the group to fill, and people are just livid that we are not pulling, and we're like 6 people short, including 2 or 3 healers.
Oh, jeez.
Right.
And then they start pulling. Like, people just start pulling the boss for the tanks. Luckily, you can run out of the room as a tank and kind of taunt the boss out and it resets. But this happened 2 or 3 times.
Wow.
And it's like, people are just so impatient. I just don't get it. Like, there was no way we were going to kill that boss. Missing 6 people.
Right.
Especially healers,
Yeah. I just don't get it. Calm down, people. Like,
just hang out, man. If it's not filling, the problem that we have now with LFR is that if there aren't people available to actually run it, it doesn't change with you. It's not flexible.
Yeah.
When Warlords hits, it'll be flexible.
That'll be better. Yes.
So that'll be nice.
Will LFR it's flexible, right?
It will be,
Warlord.
yes, it will be more flexible. It's not necessarily 100% flexible, but I think
you'll still run into the problem though, where all your healers leave, and you're like, "Yeah, we're down 6 people. We can do this." No. We don't have healers, even though it's scaled. It doesn't do damage.
Right.
You just need more DPS, baby, because DPS kills bosses.
I guess
really
that's
does.
what it.
Yeah.
It really does.
So that and raided Sunday night with the Asparagus Initiative.
Yeah.
I had to leave early for soccer, but brought my way under geared paladin in and got a bunch of gear. So that was good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was fun. Colt, how about you? What have you been up to?
Oh, my lords and ladies, brothers, sisters, family, friends, my monk, Wak Fu, is now legendary. We will Wak Fu! Yeah! Yes!
Congratulations! You can actually get big applause on top of that.
Woo! I got the legendary cloak!
Nice!
On my monk.
That's your first one?
Yeah, well, now look, I switched mains in 5-4.
So cute.
All right.
Right.
Now I got to tell you guys, have you seen this thing? I think I'm one of the first to get the cloak here. Have you actually seen this thing?
Oh yeah,
it's unbelievable.
I was in the Vale there, and there was all this stuff going on, and all this giant statue of Coltrane, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I hadn't seen that before.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Right. It's crazy. Right. But this cloak, I gotta tell you, for those that are still on the journey, or for those that switched mains in 5-4, not recommended. This thing is unbelievable. And I don't know. I mean, so I have the melee DPS one, the Flurry of Zwen or whatever. And this thing, when this thing procs, you get like this growl, like the tiger, and then your guy just starts freaking out and punching and kicking and slicing. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
And my DPS like went through the roof. It like increased by like 30 or 40K, like just by the cloak.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm having a blast.
Those cloaks are actually pretty useful. They're pretty handy.
Yeah, I would say so. Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable.
They're pretty handy.
Oh, so I'm super jazzed. I finally got this thing, and I just absolutely love it. I love the animation of it and the combat, and we took it in for raiding this week, and that was on a team known as Rectified. Rectified! Yeah! Rectified. Yes!
It's just sounder after sounder today.
Yes. It's so awesome. It's Rectified. But it was great. So I got my cloak. So we went in there. We did a little raiding. We cleared the whole place in 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Wow.
And that's with 2 wipes. So it was great. We even one-shot Gary.
Hey,
Old Garrosh. Yeah, so it was great. So we got a lot of gear. We geared up. Thank you.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, you were talking about Darius, about gearing up your pally. Listen to this. So Kleptic, he is a warrior, but he's playing an elemental shaman in this raid team. His name's Klepty.
Yep.
He went from a 542 to a 553 in one run as far as his high level. That's insane.
Holy cow. That is huge.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's like an upgrade on every boss.
My pally went from 476 to 513.
Yeah, you went in. I mean, seriously undergeared pally.
Wow.
And he was doing pretty good. Pretty good. He was a little squishy, maybe. Little squishy.
Now, speaking of squishy, so like I said, we wiped twice. Now, I may have been the result of one of those wipes, and I'd like to tell this quick story. We were on Paragons, right?
Yeah.
So here we are. We're on Paragons, and I get the blue buff or debuff on me, right? I'm blue. You know, I don't know what this thing is. I'm blue, right? So Elder Shield, the main tank, he's a warrior. So he's got his sword and board. And he says, if you've got blue, come stand on me. So Paragons is completely chaotic. So I go, Elder Shield, where are you? Where are you? He goes, oh, I'm way off to the side. I'm over here. So I look over and I see a guy off to the side with a shield. And I'm like, well, that's got to be Elder Shield. So I roll and land right on top of him until I realize that Klepty is a shaman.
Right.
And what he has a shield too.
Shamans have a shield. So I kill Kleptic. I just totally annihilate the guy.
Right.
It was awful. Yeah. So I did that and I stood on top of people in the line anyway. But it was a good time.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but it was great. So big shout out to the team. I think we're going to start out heroics. We're going to do one more week of getting everybody kind of geared up, and then we're going to dip into heroics the following week. We're going to go up against the Mercius and all that jazz. But again, like the Asparagus Initiative, it's just 4 hours a week for one day.
Right.
6 a.m. to 10 a.m., baby. 6 a.m. Yes.
Nice.
Love it. Love it.
Man, I remember doing the morning team and everything like that, and that was amazing. It was a great way to kick off the day.
Yeah.
To do a little bit of raiding to kick off the day. Some people might think it's a little weird, especially if you're used to, maybe having a cocktail or something like that with your raiding.
Right.
And it gets a little weird if you do that in the morning.
Right. But a little spicy coffee. You know what I mean? A little extra juice.
Exactly. Just put a little something in there in your coffee and you're good to go.
Yeah. But in fact, in the chat room, Easy Target said, I don't know how you could do that.
Oh.
Yes!
All right.
Woo!
All right, chat room, stay out of our conversation for now.
Yeah.
Way too many sounders. All right. For me, by the way, just so you guys know, I actually played every single tune. I played every single tune I have on Airy Peak. I did.
At the same time?
No, not at the same time. I wasn't multi-boxing or anything like that. I was just playing the tunes, right? Because I found out something this week. I was doing some house cleaning in the guild. All of my tunes, by the way, GMs of different guilds. We just opened up a new one this week because the whole buy a 90 the whole boost to 90 and buy a 90 programs are probably going to be coming soonish. So we're like, okay, well, we need a guild. Yes. And so it's like we're getting a little full. But I was looking at all of the bank stuff, and I realized that my rep was not good enough with the guild that I was GM of to be able to purchase the 7th tab on all the things. So I had to go through and I had to actually play all my characters so that I could get my rep up so that I could buy the damn 7th tab on the guild bank that I am GM of. How can I not have rep with my own guild? What?
That's insane.
So I had to play every tune.
Thanks, Blizz.
Right. Exactly.
A quick way to, or not a quick way to do that, but I guess an easy way to do that if you've got a tune and there's no real rush to get the rep is log into that tune and pick up a Blingtron every day. You get quite a bit amount of rep every time you open that package with your guild.
Cool.
By opening the Blingtron gift thing.
That's cool. Now I just need it for all my lobies because they're all like level 15, and I'm like, okay, well, I got to get these guys.
Yeah,
some
you're
playtime.
like unfriendly with your own guild.
I know.
You're like hostile.
I know. It's
That's
crazy.
insane.
It's crazy. So I did that, and so I was playing all those things, and that's kind of cool, you know, to actually get out and play some tunes that I haven't played in a while. So that was good. That was always nice. Another thing that happened this week, which was kind of weird, and I don't know how I really feel about it. I mean, it was cool. Don't get me wrong, and I was happy about it. But it's weird. I was actually interviewed for WoW Insider.
Oh, nice.
And and so it was kind of cool. Lisa, I think you pronounce her last name Poiso. I'm not sure. Because I didn't
butcher the name. Unbelievable.
It's Poisso over at WoW Insider. We met her at BlizzCon. She swung by the party before it kicked off and was taking
she's
pictures.
a nice lady.
Yeah, she was really nice. But she did a little interview with me in the WoW Insider, and it was under the 15 minutes of fame thing, and it was cool. And I just hope that I'm, you know, exposing the guild and exposing Convert to Raid the show to a new audience and all that kind of stuff.
And exposing yourself.
And exposing myself.
I mean that physically, not...
Right. No, I know what you meant.
I mean.
I know what you meant.
Right.
Yes. But it was very nice. And thank you, Lisa, for that.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Cool.
Congrats. That's great news.
It was cool. A couple of things before we get going. I'm just going to try to skate right past all that stuff. But one of the things before we get going, I want to talk about some news that landed this week. We've got big news.
Huge.
Later. But first, we got to start off with some other stuff. Scroll of Resurrection is done. Scroll of Resurrection is no more.
Dead.
Well, it at least will be on Tuesday, on the 18th of February.
Do you think this is because they're going to be replacing it with something else? I heard rumor that we're going to get free level 60s.
Yeah. So we don't need free level 80s anymore.
Oh,
so we don't need that.
That would make sense. Okay,
right.
I was wondering why they were taking this out.
So
that's incorrect.
But so they're getting rid of that. It makes total sense with all the new stuff coming in. And outstanding invites for those guys that have them will be good for 30 days from when it was sent. And again, it retires on Tuesday the 18th. So if you want to participate in that, feel free to. However, I don't think. Anyway.
I don't think you should.
I don't think you should. I don't think you should. At this
just don't. Don't
you can
even
try.
bother.
You can try it. It's not a bad idea, but it's I don't know.
Right, give it a go.
Sure.
But really, you're wasting your time and money. Just wait.
Right. And one more thing before we get into rating news, there was an article out this week on the WoW website about garrisons and about the artwork for garrisons. Right, so another Artcraft article came out. Pretty cool.
Yes.
What did you think, Colt? You read that, right?
I did. I think it looks really neat. Like, I'm really interested in garrisons. I'm really interested what this is going to do. I like the function of it. I'm really curious, like, what this is going to be. You know what I mean? Like, I'm interested when the beta comes out and eventually we can all kind of dive in there and check it out. Garrisons really interest me, and I like it too that you can do it while you're leveling up to level 100 now. That's so crazy just saying that. But I like it that you can start it at 90 or 91 up to 100. Gosh, 100.
Yeah. What did you think, Darius, of the Garrison stuff?
I think the Garrison stuff's cool. I like the artwork. I like seeing, the behind the scenes stuff and how they kind of get to where they finally end up.
Right.
That whole progression.
Yep.
They released a bunch of stuff this week where it was like screenshots of notes they had taken in BC and notes they had taken in meetings for death knights and things like that. I thought those were really cool. I like seeing that stuff, just the progression.
Right.
They at one point thought DK should have multiple lives.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I remember seeing that as well.
Yeah, it's like little scribblings on their notes. I think that's cool. And the artwork is the same thing.
Yep.
You look at that and then you see it in game and you're like, oh, I can see where this came from. This is cool.
And I don't think we really need to talk about it too much. I think that it's more of a visual thing. And so, if you're listening to the show on the audio side of things, it's tough to describe. But it does look really cool. And I suggest that everybody go over to worldofwarcraft.com and check out the Garrison's article. It's pretty neat. And make sure to click into those pictures. All those pictures, you can click into them for even more artwork. It's pretty cool. All right, but we do what?
Oh no, one quick thing on
Sure.
Tom Chilton's notes.
Oh yeah,
They wrote bounties for PvE and PvP.
bounties.
Bounties. Now, this was back in the day. This was
Right.
just an idea that they had back in the day, but it said bounties for PvE and PvP.
They kind of did something like that in Wrath, where they had, the weekly boss. So it's kind of like a bounty.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. Anyway, random side note. And
I
then
didn't
people
see
did
that
like
one.
fake things where they were like, oh, yeah, and here are some notes. It says like delete mages. So I was like, oh, come on.
That one was true. They're trying to do that.
That one they wanted to
is
do.
true.
That one they wanted to do.
Yeah. They're still working on it. They can't
How dare
figure out
you.
the correct button combination though.
How dare you?
All right. Well, let's get into the rating news.
Calling all raiders from around World of Warcraft land. This is rating news.
All right, it's time to check out what's happening in rating news around World of Warcraft, and we do have some big news today. So we've got like lots of things to get through. Make sure to listen all the way through because it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I think you're gonna like it. Now,
Teacher.
yeah, exactly. First of all, Garrosh
Gary.
is getting nerfed.
What?
Yeah, Gary's getting nerfed. The 10-man heroic Garrosh encounter is getting nerfed. Darius, what is going on with
So-
Gary?
They're nerfing basically his health across the board by 5%. They're reducing the health of some of his ads by 10%.
And I'm watching you do this all with a cat like on your keyboard.
Yeah, in my face.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like some serious cat butt. Like right there. Like smell that litter box.
Right.
Booyah.
And if you're not watching the video show, you should watch the video show just for the
She
cat.
wants to chime in, so that's
Right.
the thing.
Well,
She's got some opinions about nerfing Gary 10 man.
so what's going on with Gary?
So again, nerfing his health by 5% across the board for 10 man, nerfing the minions' health by 10%, and increasing clump size for Iron Star from 3 to 4.
Right. So
Which
so
small but significant nerfs for 10 man.
right. So why are they doing all this? Why are they nerfing heroic Gary right now for 10-mans?
So one of the things that he said was he thinks that the balancing wasn't correct. That they're always trying to correct these kind of things, and now that a lot of guilds are kind of stumbling here, they're finding the biggest reason is the fact that in 10-man you just have less people. So in 25-man you can kite ads a lot better because you can use a third tank. You've got a lot more CC and cooldowns, things like that. You have more ads, but you have more ways of dealing with them. Whereas 10-man, you're kind of limited in what you can do. So they think just by nerfing the health a little bit, it'll help because most 10-mans are just burning these things
Right.
instead of kiting them.
Well, and by he, you're talking about Ion Hazzikostas, lead encounter designer. He's kind of been all the news this week. It kind of goes around Ian somehow. So, or Ion. As
I think
Gary
they just
calls
take turns. They just draw every Monday. They draw names out of a
Right.
hat.
it. Right.
Like, all right, it's your turn to.
Like 2 weeks ago, it was Brian Holinka.
Yep.
This week it was Ian. So yeah. So this sounds like, I mean, they're just trying to line everything up, right?
Yeah,
Essentially.
they're seeing a lot of 10-mans now that we're past the cutting edge groups. We're more into groups that are even more casual that are taking this down, but they're stumbling on things like that because we're now into groups that don't have people with 3 or 4 alts. They don't have a DPS that can swap to his warrior and go tank or something like that. He's got whatever and that's it. So they're thinking this will help just a little bit. Now this isn't a big nerf; it's 5% and 10% on the ad, so it's not huge. So I don't think they're going to take away the achievement or the amount or anything like that.
Right. Well,
and it's more in tune with the 25. And this fight has a lot of hard DPS checks. And what they're finding is that groups are like just going like a single healer to try and meet those DPS requirements.
right, which is ridiculous. I mean, going single healer on any encounter
Right.
is Blizz. As soon as that happens, I'm sure that Blizz was like, "Really, single encounter or single healer? What's going on? Everybody's
Right.
doing single healer. What? Huh?
Right.
I don't know. So
That's what you got to do, baby. But this is another reason why I'm jazzed about Mythic when it's all together as one in 20 man, because that's
Right.
why they're making these changes. They said, Ion Hazzikostas said that 10-player heroic, they're doing this to make it more in tune with the 25 because it is easier on the 25 heroic. So these are slight nerfs. They're not major nerfs, but it just makes it so this is a lot more doable and groups do not have to single heal in order to meet the DPS requirements. So,
Right.
Yeah, that's
good.
They've always been about making changes so things are more enjoyable, and that's
Right.
what this is. This is still going to be very difficult, but it doesn't mean that you're going to have to make all of these strange changes to your raid group that people don't want to make in order to kill it, which is, I think, it's the right move. So.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that, anybody that's working on heroic Gary right now, I don't think that you should freak out or anything like that. I mean, this is what happens after, especially after we've had the instance around for a couple of months. They just try to make sure to line it up and this raid is going to be around for a while still and relevant for a while still. It may not be relevant for your main tune. It might be relevant for your alt at some point or whatever, but it's going to be around for a while.
Yeah, until the new patch, which we might talk about later, maybe. Who knows?
I still
Even
stand
beyond
by my prediction that Warlords comes out next Thursday. So
Right.
Awesome.
I
Because
don't think-
everything always comes out on a Thursday.
That's
I
right.
don't think we'll see much more of
Right.
Op.
Thursday's
the day.
Thursday's always like the day. That's maintenance. No, it's not maintenance day. Never mind.
It is in other parts of the world.
In your part of the world, I guess, and at least in your head. it
No,
is.
Asia sees maintenance. I think Tuesdays and
Holy cow.
Jeez.
Thursdays. We're gonna see. We're gonna see what
This conversation's going sideways now. So let's
Come on, Crane.
let's
us
get back
on
around.
track.
Here we go. Speaking of Ian, another thing that was announced this week revolved around challenge modes.
Woo.
The quote-unquote season for challenge modes is coming to a close.
What?
I know. First of all, who knew that these were seasons?
Yeah.
Did anybody know that challenge modes were a season?
You do now.
I guess so. Darius, did we ever know that this was a season? What's going on?
No, they never. I mean, everyone had to assume that they would probably take challenge modes out when a new expansion came, but they never said that it was a season or that they would turn it off, whatever they wanted or anything like that. I mean,
Right.
this is completely news to
Yes.
everyone.
This is very shocking news for a lot of people, especially those guys that still have stuff to do with challenge modes. I mean, challenge modes have been out for a while. So, like, everybody who is really into challenge modes probably has a lot of stuff from those, right? But
Right.
now they're saying, oh, they're not going to be around for much longer. So better get your stuff now because the rewards are actually going to be going away. So it'll become a feat of strength, right? So they're changing it to a feat of strength for challenge modes. They're taking away all the rewards, or they're taking them out of challenge modes because one of the things is with Warlords, with the changes that are going on, they're going to be changing all the stats, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So rebalancing older content, older challenge modes is not on the agenda, apparently. Or at least they feel like the rewards shouldn't be available because of those changes or something along those lines. Is that it?
It makes sense because in the challenge modes they scale everything down. They make changes to things like legendaries don't work. Some trinket procs don't work correctly.
That's right.
Those kind of things. So they'd have to go back in and really make some serious changes for the Warlords stat changes and gear changes and whatnot. And is it really worth their time to do that for a couple weeks, worth of?
Especially when the expansion's coming out on Thursday.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
right.
So it's good that they said this though, so everyone knows, so they're not, surprised, when this happens and be like, oh, I thought I had a couple more weeks.
Well,
everybody knows.
But Colt, I mean, that's pretty shocking news, right?
Well, it is, but I have a quick question for you guys in regards to challenge modes.
Yeah.
So a couple of people on the raid team were talking about, let's do challenge modes next week. Yeah, this season's ending soon. Let's give it a go. And it was like, whoa. Well, first we need the gear. Because like you said, and Darius was saying, everything is scaled down. So what's interesting is there's this like meta game where there's like these list of like best in slot gear for your class. Like, oh, you should get this piece of armor because it still has a gem socket and it scales down good. And you should have this piece. So you have to like gear up for challenge modes. Like you said, you can't use the legendary gem and all that stuff. My question to both of you is that a good thing? Meaning, is it good that there's this like you need separate gear for challenge modes, or is that taking away of what challenge modes are supposed to be? Are challenge modes supposed to be, you get with a group of friends, you try and do a timed trial run to get through it? Or is it, well, no, you should get this trinket, you should get this armor, get this, and then go through it so it's easier? I mean, right. I don't know. Like, I don't know about this whole meta thing about it, because a couple of the guys were like, yeah, let's do it. Well, we can't. I need at least another week or two to get some gear for it, and then we can do it.
Yeah, it does seem a little tough. I mean, you know, you kind of want to just jump in and go. And I think that...
And I guess you can. I guess if you're trying to, like, go for gold, and you want to get every single advantage that you can and every little piece of stat that you could get, I guess that's why, you know, you do it, or they're doing it.
But the whole thing is that you should just be able to go in and, you know, hang out with friends, not have to think about, you know, regemming, reforging all of your different gear for challenge modes or for proving grounds. It doesn't really matter which one it is. Anytime you scale down your gear, you get into this thing of, oh, now I need to min-max for the scaled down gear.
Exactly.
And that seems really off to me. And hopefully with the new system and the new gear that's coming in for Warlords, the new everything for that, hopefully that will be better.
I disagree. I mean, you min-max your gear for raids, you min-max your gear for PvP. Why wouldn't you min-max your gear for challenge modes? Challenge modes are different. They're not dungeons. They're not there for you to have to do. These are something extra, like a raid or like an arena or something like that.
But what I'm saying is that I think that all PvE stuff should be roughly the same, right? So I mean, I think in Warlords it's going to be fine because you won't have to hit those hard like haste caps, hit caps, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a lot more flexible. I think, you know, just stats in general are going to be a lot more flexible. So I don't really see it as being a sticking point in WoD. But at the same time, I would rather, you know, be able to go in my raid gear to another PvE content and still have it work and still have it be best in slot stuff, just scaled down appropriately. You know, the percentages all stay the same, but, you know.
Gotcha. So you're saying that you would like the legendary meta to work. You would like the proc from the cloak to work, you know, that kind of thing.
I'd like it. Yeah. Cause I don't want to have to build a second set of gear just for challenge modes or just for proving grounds.
Now, it's interesting. I almost wonder if that's a good thing, though, to build a separate set of gear, only for this. It provides another layer for those that are really hardcore min-maxers, and I think that's good. World of Warcraft is easy to pick up, but difficult to master. There's those whole theory crafting. There's a whole nother layer to it, and I think that's helped with the longevity of the game. So I almost wonder maybe, I completely see your point, Zug, but another side of it is maybe it's good to kind of have this kind of theory and min-maxing stuff to give it another layer, even to something like challenge modes. Yeah, could be a good thing too.
Well, and I will say that this way, it could be good, it could be bad. I still don't like it. I still don't like it.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
No, I think it should be. I don't think you should blanket all PvE under this one PvE gear list blanket kind of thing. It's just not. Challenge modes are different from raids. Challenge modes are different from dungeons. So you should need to do something different. Otherwise, it just becomes boring. You get one set of gear and you go and do everything in the game. You PvE,
That's what
PvP,
I'm talking about. I love that.
No,
I love that. Come on. I don't want to think about gear. I don't want to think about gear. I want to think about, hey, I'm going to group up with my friends and go have fun. So,
but Pat, you can do that though right now. You can just group up with your buddies and go do that. But there is a whole nother layer that you could do this min-maxing stuff. You know what I mean? So it might go faster.
I get it. I totally get it. I just don't like it.
You don't want it.
Totally get it. I just don't like it. That's just my personal opinion, of course.
Right.
So there. And for, Darius, you like math things and numbers, and I'm sure that, you would rather have a separate set of gear for everything. Right?
I mean, it's crazy. like Spencer says in the chat room, why have gear at all at that point? Everybody just wears the same thing, and you just walk into a raid. I
play a druid. I don't care. I'm just going to be in tree form anyway.
No. That's ridiculous.
There's the logic.
Like Colt says, why do we raid? It's for the loot.
It's for the loot, baby. It's all about the loot.
All right. There's no winning this.
I'm signing off.
But one of the things that was kind of brought up was kind of the difference between Proving Grounds and challenge modes from Ian. He said that Proving Grounds, he tweeted out earlier this week, Proving Grounds serve a different purpose, and they will be updated for Warlords, but challenge modes are analogous to arena seasons. And that struck me as weird. And we kind of talked about who knew that it was a season, but does this make sense that challenge modes are like a PvE arena at all? Darius, do you have thoughts on that?
No, I don't think so. Because it's you against a computer. It's not you against another person. There's always a trick or a way to min-max it, or a best strategy when it comes to PvE content.
Yeah.
PvP is a lot more different. So saying it's an arena or trying to gauge success in that way, I don't think is correct.
He said that it's analogous. It's not necessarily, exactly the same.
Yeah.
But
I almost wonder if maybe the point is arenas is that like high end of PvP. Like you've got battlegrounds, which is your standard great stuff. And then you've got arena for that really high end stuff. You've got your dungeons, which is your standard stuff. And then you've got challenge modes for that really high end PvE stuff. So maybe that's the comparison.
I don't know. But I
I
kind of see it, but it's like after the fact, now that they've announced that it's seasons. I'm just kind of wondering how they can build on the season approach. Do you think that they're going to have maybe one of the things for Warlords is that they'll have like a challenge mode dungeon, or like a handful of challenge mode dungeons to start, and then they'll say, okay, that season's over, but we're going to open up these new dungeons with new challenge modes, and now we get to work on that set of dungeons. I
got to get together with my buddies. I'm starting up my fantasy challenge mode league next week. So I got to sit down and get my players and get my gear. I got a warrior ready.
Right.
I got, a druid, because they're very mobile with the heals.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. Oh, and that might not be the case anymore either for Warlords.
What?
There was an article that Lore put out this week about casting in Warlords, and it sounds like there's going to be a lot more hard casts for everybody, a lot less mobility, a lot less instant casting, and that includes for healers. I don't know if you saw the article or not.
I thought I did, but I literally think I read that backwards. I thought there's going to be more mobility.
No, there's not going to be more. Well, there might be more mobility, but it won't be instant casts. The instant casts are going to be kind of going away from a lot of classes, just kind of in general, and that if there is going to be mobility while casting, it's going to be a choice. It's going to be like a talent, kind of like Spirit Walker's Grace or
Kil'jaeden's
KJC, all that kind of stuff. So it may be more like that, where you're missing out on something else, giving up something for your mobility. So there. I don't know.
Well, we all know who to blame.
Oh, yes, we do.
Blame
Celestalon!
Blame Celestalon! Celestalon! Blame Celestalon!
Yes. All right.
Blame Celestalon. We got him. I love it.
Yes. Okay.
Poor guy.
Exactly. Now, another thing that was mentioned in the article about challenge modes ending was that there's going to be an array of new rewards for challenge modes in Warlords. What do you make of this? Darius, do you have any thoughts on on what this could mean?
I'm thinking something like titles, maybe mounts, something like that. Gear for maybe bronze.
Well, they have mounts already, don't they?
And mounts. Well, I'm thinking like more if they're going to do seasons, more mounts. kind of like you do mounts for PvP seasons. Season 1 you get this mount, season 2 you get a different mount, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Maybe something like that. Maybe gear specific to, you get cool looking gear that's specific to the dungeon you got gold in, something like that. Example, if you were doing Storm Stout Brewery, you got gear that was brewery based, something like that. It'd have kegs for your shoulders or something like that. I don't know. This is
awesome.
Just what I'm thinking, but I mean, this is what I'd like, actually.
That's awesome.
Colt, you're a loot man. What do you want for rewards?
Well, you're right. It's all about the loot, baby. It's risk versus reward, and the reward is loot. Now, the way that challenge modes work now is I get that one piece of armor. Well, let's say I don't like the look of that piece of armor, which I don't. So I'm like, well, I don't want that armor, and that's the only reward. Besides, you get gold and all that jazz. The challenge mode, gold, you've achieved gold. But like that, I'm like, nah, I don't really want that armor. You know what I mean? For those that love the set and how it looks, then great. That's awesome. That's gravy. But right now, it's just that piece of armor, that cosmetic look, which isn't something I particularly like. So if they add more things, like mounts or battle pets, or I don't know, like something, then maybe that would get more people wanting to do it, because it's all about the loot, baby. Yeah, and it's all about risk versus reward. And if I dig the reward, then I'll do the risk.
And I think one of the things that they could introduce, not that they will, but maybe some sort of gear, so like outside of transmog, some sort of weapon, or I don't know. I mean, right. I think that there are possibilities there for something that will benefit you outside of the challenge mode, or outside of transmog or a mount. I think that there's, maybe you get lesser charms off of it, or maybe you get actual gear.
Yeah, there's got to be something, because right now it's just that one set of gear, and if you don't really like that one set of gear, then like that's how I am for me. I don't particularly like the set for monks, so I'm like, no, I'm not really gonna go through all that. You know what I mean? Just for that set of gear.
Right. Now we actually have some big news. Some big news. Now, like the last couple of weeks has all been about stuff closing down. The end of PvP season is near. Now we have the end of challenge modes and the end of the Scroll of Resurrection. Yeah, exactly. The end is nigh. And so people were kind of like, at least the people that I were talking to were like upset. They were like, I can't believe all this stuff is ending. Well, you know what happens when things end in World of Warcraft?
Everybody gets angry?
Yes. No, that's what happens when you head into LFR.
Oh.
No, when things end in World of Warcraft, other things begin.
Yes!
Yes! Other things begin, like
what, Doug?
Like patch 5.4.7 is going live this week.
Yeah!
Yes! It's going live this week.
Yes!
With a new PvP season, level boost, the level 90 boost prep, I guess, and other assets for future use. So maybe the level 90 stuff is coming in, the 90 boost, all that kind of stuff. What's going on here, Darius? You alerted this happened just before the show.
I mean, this is a PvP podcast. So season 15 of the PvP season will start.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
That's really the big news.
Right.
Alinka!
And some PvE stuff too that no one really cares about.
Right.
Some as they put it, minor adjustments to heroic Garrosh 10-man.
Mm-hmm.
Not nerfs.
Yep.
We've got the level 90 boost stuff will be in the game, but we're not sure if they're actually going to be turned on. Right. They haven't really talked about it too much, and I think they would talk about it quite a bit more if that was actually going to go live.
Right.
And some like background stuff for warlords and whatnot.
Well, and like
There's some other big stuff you're leaving out.
Yeah, it's
hit
fine.
it. Go for it, Colt.
The Warlords of Draenor Collector's Edition mount and pet are included in this patch.
Which means that so is the pre-order for Warlords of Destruction.
No, not destruction. Draenor.
I know it's not destruction, but I like that one better.
No, it's
No,
terrible.
I
It's
own
totally
the trademark
cool.
on that. They can't use that.
That's right. He owns the TM.
Warlords
insane.
of Destruction.
Oh,
this is a song
that's
from
close.
the
You-
early 80s.
You
Here
sounded
we
like White Snake just then. It was
Thank
actually
you.
really good.
Thank you.
You need more screech, but it was good.
Yeah, I didn't go full out on that one.
That's all right.
I should.
That's what you've got me for. I will go full out. I will throw myself out there.
Yeah.
But this is great, man. This is next week. Patch 5.4.7
Right.
could be
Right.
available.
Yep. And so I mean this is pretty cool. There's gonna be some class changes. There's actually lots of PvP changes. So if you're into PvP, go check out the post because this is not a PvP podcast, unlike what Darius thinks.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure about
I think
that.
I'm on the wrong show then.
But during this patch, at some point, hopefully they'll get this all ready and they'll have it out along with the beginning of the patch. That would be awesome. But we'll have the pre-order for Warlords. We'll have the boost to 90.
Yes.
There may be even buy a 90 included with that.
I hope so.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Oh.
So now, fellas, we got to figure out what we're going to be doing for this patch.
This is awesome. I'm so jazzed. Okay, now I have a quick suggestion. So we got our pre-90, we got our 90 coming up, right?
Yeah.
Now, one thing I've noticed in LFR is I'm the only monk. That's it. So I know you're out there. All you people out there, and you're not playing a monk at max level. And I get it, because you got to level on up. That's a lot of levels to get on up there. But I'm telling you right now, the monk class is phenomenal. You got to give it a shot. Start it out from the beginning, leveled up, or when you've got your 90 here, try out a monk. I'm telling you, they are an amazing, amazing class. I've been playing since vanilla. I've had this much fun in a long, long time.
Right.
I will always bleed blue, mages. I love you to the end of my days. But I got to tell you, the monk, especially Windwalker, is a blast. Brewmaster tanks, love it. Mistweavers, from what I hear, I don't know much about mistweaving, but I'm saying that it amazes me, though, because when I'm in LFR or even like Flex, I'm like the only monk. It's crazy. There's no other monks.
Yeah.
Do you think
So
maybe that's less people aren't playing their monks and more just monks are so versatile right now that they're getting in raids and they're not needing LFR for gear and things like that? I mean,
That could
every
be.
raid I'm in raid, normal, heroic, there's at least one or two monks in there.
Yeah.
There's always a lot. Even looking at Realm Pop, they're not that much lower than everyone else.
No, actually, when wasn't it they did a class breakdown in MMO Champion not too long ago, and we saw that I think rogues were at the bottom at like 5 or 6%, and
Yeah.
monks were kind of down there as far as having level 90 tunes, but
They are low, and you're
Right.
right what you're saying, Darius. I totally agree with you. But every monk, every player's got to get geared up, which means you got to run through LFR at some point. And when I'm in these LFRs, when I was grinding out the legendary cloak, I was literally 95% of the time the only monk in the raid, let alone the only Windwalker.
that's
know what I
weird.
mean?
That's weird because
The entire time, I was the only like green bar.
right,
It's crazy.
right. I know that I've done mist weaving, the Mistweaver monk.
Mhm.
And it's fun. It's a little weird though. I mean, as a healer, if you're used to healing on, any other class, the monk is so different. It is so different.
Right.
But it's not bad. It's just different, and it was hard to handle for me. So I was like, you know what? I know druids really well. Why don't I just
Right.
stick with what I know?
Right.
But I do like the monk. I do like the monk a lot. So
Well, one more
fun.
question for you guys. So
Yeah.
supposedly, we talked about this in the past, that if you get a character past level 60,
yeah,
right, with a particular profession, let's say you've got blacksmithing 1 out of 600.
Yeah.
But he's level 61 or level 60. And then you boost him to 90. His blacksmithing now becomes 600 out of 600. That's correct, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So are you guys going to be like using this boost, not just to boost a character, but also to boost professions?
Right. That is kind of the question. Darius, what do you think?
Probably not. I mean, I wouldn't level a tune to 60 just to boost professions. Maybe a DK because that's really quick.
Yeah.
Give them 2 professions. Maybe we're going to see a whole lot of DK bank cults.
Yeah.
In the future, but I don't. The professions are like I think I mentioned this last week. I have blacksmithing and engineering on my paladin, and I power leveled both of those in a day for about 5, maybe 10,000 gold on our server, which is not a lot of gold for me. For Zug, who carries around, I think 46 gold at all times.
Yeah,
right.
I think I have. It's mostly silver actually at this point. So.
It's easy to power level on high pop servers, like ours is. I went to the auction house and bought all of the mats at once, and then
that's crazy. But I got to tell you real quick, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I did leatherworking on my monk, and I could not afford to power level. I could not afford it. I'm broke, so I skinned 95% of that entire 1 to 600 in leatherworking.
Yeah.
And it was one heck of a grind, man.
Yeah,
That's
you just gotta go.
hours.
You gotta go on that mailbox and take off all your gear and start dancing if you want that gold. I mean,
That's right.
Right.
Sell
no other
my
way to
body.
get it.
Woo-hoo!
No other way.
Well, I
That's
think what I'm going to do is actually, I've actually missed not having a max level DK around because I do enjoy playing DK, especially as like a gatherer, because then you can go out into the world and hit things really, really hard and kill things quick, and it's pretty nice, especially when my main is a resto, whatever. I like actually going out with melee and actually beating things to death with with whatever. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to level up my DK, which is a level 62 now, because I had to play him this week to bump up my guild rep.
Yes, that's right.
So I think I'm going to do that. That's like the first one. And if they do the buy a 90 program, I have a warlock in the wings that is just waiting to get to 90 and is at like level 30 or something. So that's my deal.
I got one more question for you boys.
Yeah.
And this is a big one. Well, it's not a big one, but it's just another question. And
this is a big one.
This is a big one, boys. Now, professions, right? We're talking about professions here.
Yeah.
On my monk right now, I've got skinning and leatherworking. They're both at max. I'm saving skinning because I'm going to assume in Warlords there will be new things to skin, and all that jazz. And then I will use that skin. That sounds awful, by the way, to level up my leatherworking to 650 or whatever the new profession is. Now, we all know that you don't want to have necessarily a gathering profession maxed as one of your max levels to achieve the greatest things. Like you want blacksmithing and engineering, like a lot of DPS like that. With blacksmithing, you get extra sockets. With engineering, you get the synapse springs. You can do more deeps. So that's not a gathering. You don't have a gathering thing. So my plan is I'm going to get my monk up to level 100, leatherworking to max, and then I want to do, like, let's say, engineering. So now I got to start from 1 to 650 in engineering. My question to you is this. What if in the Blizzard store for, I don't know, $20, they added a level up a profession to max instantly on one of your main characters?
Well,
what do you guys feel about that?
I think we'll see that.
Here's what I will say to that. I'll do it, probably. I'd probably do it. I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's the right direction. That I don't think that we want to say, oh, you want to max level your professions, go to the store. I think that that's not fun either.
Mm-hmm.
Leveling your professions should be done in game, in my opinion. And I think that as soon as that stuff starts going to the store, that I think there's going to be a real reaction against that from a lot of folks. Because when you're talking about professions, you also talk about all the different things that go along with that, all the different little perks you get for having max level professions, right? So if you get any advantage off of your professions in Warlords and you can buy that advantage,
right,
then that's no longer
That's interesting.
It's no longer a cool thing. You know what I mean? Then it's oh, I have to go to the store and spend money, and then it's pay to not really win, but pay for advantage in the game.
Well, it just speeds it up.
Either.
Or you could grind it out yourself, but it just speeds it up.
Well, and if it was like an XP boost or something like that, that's a little bit better. It still feels a little weird though. You know, Darius, what do you think?
I don't think. I think most of this is going to be a moot point when Warlords comes out, because I don't think professions are going to have any real impact on rating. I think they've said that many times. They don't like that people have to min-max all their professions and get a profession to a specific level just to raid.
Right.
They've said that many times. So I think we're going to see professions as a way to make craftables, to maybe boost your garrison, a bunch of other things, but have no real impact on rating. So this really isn't going to matter much.
Wow,
that would be the
that's
best.
a great point.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Yeah,
you're totally right. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So
I hope that remains true, because I'll tell you, man, when I'm staring down the 1 to 650 in engineering, holy cow! You know, it took me to skin 1 to 600 in leatherworking. I gotta go up to 650 now.
No, it would actually be 675, I think.
675.
Yeah.
Oh, even better. Great.
Even more numbers. So you got to do that.
Oh man, if that's a great point, and I forgot about that. They did mention that. Is that like for sure?
Well,
I guess we'll know once beta and all that. You know, we'll get more info. I guess then we'll know.
Well, we do know that they are introducing, or they're probably going to have to rework racials.
Right.
And they're going to have to, they talked about reworking professions as well, as far as the different perks and stuff like that. So I think that we'll see, but at least they're keeping all that stuff in mind, which is always good. Right. So, yeah. I don't know. Now another thing before we go into questions, there was something else that was tweeted out this week by Ion Hazzikostas. And it's something else that we can look forward to for Warlords, or maybe not. Maybe it's something you might not like. But he tweeted this out about the raids in Warlords. He said that the layouts are going to be varied, but they're aiming for non-linear raid layouts. Like High Mall is going to be more like Firelands, and Black Rock Foundry more like ICC.
Sweet.
You like it?
I love it.
Why do you like it?
Because if my team is struggling on a particular boss, we can try a different one. But we can get gear, and then we can go back to that said boss. Now, it doesn't help with the world race. It's like, oh, well, they did so-and-so first versus this. That's not good there. But for normal raid teams, or even heroic level, if your team is struggling on a boss, you don't stop on boss 2. Like we saw in Throne of Thunder, Horden.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? That was bad.
Remind me of Hordon.
I know,
that
you're
was
right.
so bad.
And it
For
is
10-man
bad.
teams, that was horrible.
It was awful. But it's gotten better in Siege. It's gotten better in Siege. The tuning has been a lot better. But I love this non-linear thing, that if your particular raid or raid comp is struggling, you can go to a different boss, kill boss, and get loot.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Darius, now, why are heroic teams, or those cutting-edge teams, kind of cringing at this?
I mean, it means more choices, but I actually think this is good for a lot of cutting edge teams, because what this means is you'll go in now to the PTR and you'll do your testing, and somebody's going to figure something out. Somebody's going to figure out that this boss is just slightly easier, and they're gonna this team, whatever, Midwinter's going to go to this boss first when no one else does, and they're going to get that kill, and they're going to get 5 extra pieces of loot that no one else has. And then they're going to go to work on the other boss that everyone else is working on. And they're going to have that much more of an advantage, over everyone else. It means it's harder to track. Yeah. Who ends up with world first, but then you just look at who ends up killing the final wing boss first, something like that, or who does it the quickest, or whatever.
Well, because one of the things that these cutting edge teams do is they keep an eye on things like WoW Progress, and they kind of have their own little network, right, of the way that they talk to each other, and so they usually know where a team is at. Like they'll say, oh, this person got down, the so-and-so, whatever the boss name is, like Hordon. Sure, they got that boss down. And if it's linear progression, like Throne of Thunder, then they go, oh, well, then they have, X number of bosses left. But if they don't, then it's kind of weird and hard to track. And
well, I mean, none of that's going to make them try any harder, though. If someone is further ahead than they are or behind, they're still going to try just as hard.
Right.
So,
right.
And it's not going to change their strategy at all unless they start seeing that, say, again, Midwinter goes in and they go to the left side and they're stuck on it for 2 days and they see that a bunch of other guilds went to the right first and they killed 3 more bosses than they did quickly. They might change their strat there.
Sure.
And go the other way. But I don't think this is all that bad. Right. I think it requires more thought, more planning, which is always a good thing because someone always figures something else out that no one else saw. And that makes the race exciting. So.
Yeah. Well, and it does make it hard to track for us, but I think for play, it's going to be pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah. I think, and also for normal raid teams, this is even great later on, in the expansion, because let's say you've got all the gear you need off the first few bosses. If like Ulduar, you had the tank boss at the beginning, where you're in the tank and all that jazz, and then you've got like Ignis, the Fire Lord guy on the left, and then you got the Drake Dragon on the right, or you can just go straight and take on XT. All you have to do is defeat XT, and then you can move in to Ulduar, right? So those were 2 optional bosses that you could skip, which is great, I think, in a way. If you've got all the gear you need and you have a way that you can skip ahead, because progression is great, and a lot of people love this linear thing. But let's say you don't need any more loot off the first 6 bosses. No matter what, you have to kill those first 6. So imagine if you got all the loot you need and everything's gravy, you can skip ahead. You know what I mean? You don't have to do that. If you've got limited raid time, you can go right forward.
Well, they're not saying that that's going to be the case, at least initially, but at least they might be able to program that later where they can have a couple of optional bosses or something. But I think for for Blackrock Foundry, it's in wings like ICC, right? So you have to kill or you have to complete all the encounters.
Oh, that's a good point.
You have to complete all the encounters in all 3 wings before you unlock the final boss.
That's true. You just get the option of what order you want to kill those bosses in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not saying that they couldn't do that. They couldn't do optional bosses. I mean, that's definitely a thing, and maybe they'll look at doing that for one of these instances or in the future.
And they also talked about you can somehow get a key that you can, like, you kill somebody and then some boss, you can get a key and then that'll unlock you so you can go to later in the instance or the end of it or something.
Yeah, I kind of remember them talking. Darius, do you remember?
Yeah, it was the same kind of thing. Like once you kill the final boss of the entire raid, you loot a key off him, and that'll allow you to skip certain bosses or go right back to him or something like that. Or maybe it was the second to last boss, and it gives you a key that lets you go right to the end, so you don't have to save a lockout or do all these funky things with lockouts, which is great. I think all of this is great because there are so many times where there are bosses where you don't need gear or you don't need anything off the first 6 bosses of a raid, and you've got 14 bosses. But it takes you an hour and a half of wasted raid time, and like I said earlier, that's not fun. And Blizzard wants to take things out of the game that are not fun, that people just feel like are a chore. And
that's what is happening right now in Siege, right? So we're seeing a lot of people saving alts to different places in Siege of Orgrimmar so that they can skip ahead, and so that they can get saved to different bosses so that they can either have a straight line to Garrosh or a straight line to different bosses where they need loot from, where their team needs loot, and then they'll just save themselves to the boss before that so that they can just jump right to it. Because, I mean, there are teams like Colt, your team and our team actually raids for only 4 hours a week. I don't know if we've ever mentioned that on this show before.
Right.
But
I feel like we haven't.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, there's always kind of this thing of now we need to save lockouts because we're progressing in this thing, but there's still 14 bosses, which is crazy.
Right. It's funny, like Elder Shield was talking about, well, okay, with our schedule, we're going to have about 45 minutes to work on Heroic Immersius. So that's about 5 pulls. And then after that, we have to get back on the normal train if we want to clear the rest of the instance in time and kill Garrosh to hopefully get an heirloom. So It's interesting. Like, we're only allowed 5 attempts, really, because we've only got 4 hours a week.
I know.
It puts you in an interesting spot.
It's funny because like the last couple of like Throne of Thunder and Siege of Orgrimmar, 13 bosses and 14 bosses, right? And I'm like, this is too many for like casual teams. For heroic teams, I mean, it's great. It's fine. It is what it is, and it provides challenge, and it's great. But for teams that work on limited time during the week, like ours, these are a lot of bosses.
Yeah.
And I remember when we went to Blizzard for that thing last summer, that was like one of the big questions that I had. Why so many? Why can't you bust it up, kind of like what you did at the beginning of Mists of Pandaria, where you have a couple of different instances,
right,
and work it that way? That'd be so much better for casual teams, right?
Right, because there's heroic teams that raid 3, 4, 5 nights a week, and there are more casual teams that raid 1 or 2 or even 1 night a week. So,
yeah. And I remember I asked the question, don't you think that 14 bosses is a lot? And I got looks from people out in the audience, in the rest of the people that were there to ask questions. And I'm like, what did I say? I only raid for 4 hours a week. I want to be able to clear this thing in a good amount of time.
Good job.
Thank you.
I supported you, Zug. I gave you a high five. A high five on that one.
Right. I don't know. But hopefully we'll be able to see something like that. So
2 raids with half the bosses could be cool. If it was 7 and 7, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool.
That wouldn't be bad at all. So we'll have those 2 raids, and it's going to be flexible, and it's going to be awesome. So I think that I'm really looking forward to Warlords, man. I cannot wait. And 5.4.7 drops this week, so look out for it.
Ooh.
There we go. Now let's move on to some leading the raid.
Leading the raid.
When we can, we take a look into leadership issues for raid leaders everywhere. And this week we have a listener question. And Coltrane, can you help us out on this one, please?
Sure. This is from Storm. He is a worried COGM raid lead and button smashing shaman.
Yeah.
He says, hey guys, mythic raids. Yes. Wait. I'm in a 10-man heroic guild team. No. I was listening to your show recently. And the announcement of the pre-WOD patch, I said WOD, not WOD,
right,
was brought up. You guys lightly covered the whole system of things switching. My dilemma, I am a co-GM and the raid team leader. We are a 10-man heroic progression-centered team. We finally have solidified our roster to go into heroics in the past month or so to where we can go in and destroy these hard bosses, which is great. I don't want to stop this progression train at all. However, mythic raiding in SOO with the pre-patch does halt our 10-man heroic WOD mythic progression. Meaning, do I have to stop the great progression machine I'm running right now to recruit 10 more? I want to kill on Garrosh 10-man on SOO heroic and for our raiders to be able to loot farm 566 eye-level gear post 6.0 once it drops. Thoughts? Is 6.0 the slamming gate on 10-man heroic SOO teams?
So, we're talking about the big switch when 6.0 comes in. And they are going to be introducing Mythic. We covered this last week, I think, where they're going to be introducing Mythic 20-man. Essentially what it is heroic right now becomes Mythic, and it will become 20-man only. So, Darius, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, you're gonna have to recruit. I mean, there's no way around it. If you want to do Mythic, you're gonna need to get 10 more. There's no way around that. I mean, if you're just now getting into heroics, and we're pretty far into Siege of Orgrimmar at this point. Maybe normals are where you want to start, or rather, they'd be heroic in WOD. And then start recruiting 10 then, or something like that. But there's no way around it. If you want to do Mythic, you need 10 more people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, or fortunately for the balance reasons.
And the other thing, too, is that I'll just kind of mention is that 6.0 is still months away. Yes. We're not close to it. quite yet. And I think that what's been the case, it's always been like a month out, right? As far as from when the next expansion is.
Yeah,
generally speaking, about a month or so, somewhere in there. So
yes,
we have some time. We don't even have a beta yet. I mean, we don't have an open beta or anything like that. So we're not close here. And if you are destroying hard bosses, these heroic bosses right now, and with the Garrosh changes this upcoming week, and so on and so forth, I think you'll be in pretty good shape. I don't think you'll be in bad shape anyway. So, Colt, you have any thoughts?
You're screwed. I really don't know how to say it. I mean, you're absolutely right. And I think it's awesome. Congrats on getting a 10-man heroic team. It's solid. You guys are rocking. You're killing bosses. But unfortunately, when this mythic thing drops, you're going to be going back down to normal difficulty to stick with your 10-man. If you want this heroic, these extra phases, that's going to you're going to need to add 10 more. You're going to need that mythic team. And there are teams like that, like my team right now. And it's not my team. It's led by Elder Shield. But like we're going to step into heroics, next week or the week after. And if we want to keep doing this much harder stuff, we're going to need to recruit 10 more. Yep. You know what I mean? And that's just what's going to happen. But the point I think Pat was trying to say too, is that we've got time. We got plenty of time here before Warlords. You will have that time to try and recruit an additional 10. Right. But I understand, Storm, it's frustrating because you've just now finally solidified your roster. You got 10 heroic raiders, you're rocking and rolling, and now you need 10 more. So
good luck with that one, buddy. Yeah, sorry.
It's frustrating, I think, but everyone can kind of agree. Mythic is great for the long term.
Yeah.
It's not so great for the short term. Yep. But it's great for the long term. So just keep that in mind.
And I think we said this last week, or at least I know that I've been thinking it for a while, is that the initial switch is going to be extremely tough, and people are going to growl and grumble and be really kind of upset with Blizzard for doing this to them, and they're going to put all the blame on Blizzard and right. whoever else. And but I think once you get going into it, it'll make more sense. It'll be a little bit cleaner, and hopefully we'll be able to see a lot more like better, cooler encounters because of it. Yeah. That's what I'm really hoping for. So
some good tuning. I think it'll be a lot because it's just a set 20. They don't have to worry about in 10 player like the changes they're doing now with heroic 10 Garrosh. Right.
They don't have to worry about what it's doing in these different size groups. They can just go through and say, all right, here we go. Here's the set thing for you guys. So there.
I wish you luck, Storm.
Yeah, indeed. Good luck. Good luck, buddy. Let's get into some more questions, though.
We've got mail.
Yes, we do. And if you have a question about anything about raiding or anything else, just let us know. We'll try to answer it on the show. You can always email us at converttoraid@gmail.com or call our raid line 612-787-RAID, or you can join us during the live show. Try to flag us down in the old chat room, and we might be able to get to your question. Although this week we have a lot, so we'll see what we can get through here. Darius, can you grab this first one for us, please?
First one's from Xanatar. He says, I recently began listening to your podcast on Stitcher because a friend recommended it. And since then, all I can think about is wanting to raid.
Woo,
I've never been on a raid. I've never been on a raid, just a few dungeons at best. I'm clearly nowhere near worthy to go on a raid, but hope to be eventually. I'm currently leveling at Death Knight for DPS in Airy Peak. What do you recommend I do while leveling to somehow become worthy of joining a raid team?
First of all, never say that you're never worthy to join a raid team. I think that joining a raid team is a lot of fun. Everybody should do it. I mean, that's why we do the show, really. Mm-hmm. To get more people to join raiding. Yeah.
So to get you raiding.
Right, exactly. So don't think that you're not worthy of it, please. I know plenty of people that maybe shouldn't be raiding that do on a regular basis.
How dare you?
What?
One of them
hear that?
One of them might be on this show. I don't know.
What? I'm doing way better deeps now, baby. I'm rocking it.
So
out of all of the Mistweaver monks in your 10-man raid team, you are easily in the top 5.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That doesn't make any sense.
Anytime you do LFR, you are the top monk of them all.
I
right?
have a shirt that says LFR badass. I'm always wearing it. And there's a reason for that.
That's funny.
But anyway, let's get to the question.
All right. So, Coltrane, what do you have to say here?
Well, I am doing the same thing that you are doing, Xanatar. I have a warrior on Airy Peak that is level 86, and I'm leveling him on up. And the idea being that he's going to be melee DPS and step into the raiding environment. So what I've been doing is I go to like Icy Veins or MMO Champion forums, and I find out what the rotation is. For the warrior, I actually went Torage Warrior. It's got a great thing on YouTube, a great guide for arms and fury. Torage Warrior. And what I'm actually doing is while I'm leveling, I'm practicing the rotation. I'm learning the muscle memory and I'm key binding all of my abilities. So when I do hit 90, I already know it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I use while questing, I don't just, I'll just spam this one button. I actually do the rotation. And when I run the dungeons, I do the rotation. So I learn it. I get to know it. And that's how you're ready to go when you hit 90. Muscle memory is key. So that's actually what I'm doing. And I find that really, really helps on your journey to 90 is if you practice the rotation while leveling up.
It is tough, though, because one of the things that you'll find out as you're leveling is that you may not have all of the abilities that you need
True.
to once you get into raiding mode, right? So you won't necessarily have all those different tools, but you should at least know what they are. I think definitely knowledge is power here. So know what you need on your bars so that you know can kind of be prepared for that. And then once you get into 80, especially 85 to 90, start really keying into those different abilities that you'll need in raid mode. I think that makes a lot of sense. Darius, other thoughts?
I would say more so than the buttons, because they'll come as you get there. But you can start practicing this even at level 10 or 15, where you start queuing for dungeons. Start being an intelligent raider, or in this case, dungeoneer. Don't stand in the poo. Help your healers out. Communicate, things
Right.
like that. Kill the marked targets. All those things. Start getting into those habits as early as possible, so that when you do get picked on to join a raid team or even just LFR, you're already better than everyone else that's just standing there and turreting.
I actually saw a really good article this week, and it was about raid awareness and about how to build that. I don't know if you guys saw this.
It did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it was cool. It was make every death count. Make sure that you can learn from every time that you die in game, that you learn something from it, that you can get something from it, that you understand why you died, and maybe be able to think about how you can change your behaviors to make sure that you are being as optimal as possible, making sure that you're not, overtaxing the healers, making sure that you're standing outside of these big abilities, understand what these boss abilities are, and be able to better avoid them or deal with them however you need to. It was kind of a cool article. It was good.
It was a great article, and it really kind of hit it home that it's not so much. It's interesting to be an effective raider. It's not necessarily having the best rotation, having the best stats or gear. It's about surviving. A dead
Right.
DPS does 0 DPS.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So find ways to increase your survivability, to be aware of these telegraphs that these bosses are showing, and to know when to get out of the poo. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
really key.
Well, and Darius, you kind of do this already when you're dealing with raid leading stuff, and where you actually don't res yourself, which is crazy. You wait for us to res you.
Yes.
Silly.
Unbelievable.
But while you're waiting for us to res you, to run back and res you, you are actually going through logs and trying to figure out why things kind of went wrong, and trying to figure out how to make sure that the team is not doing that in the future. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, usually I'm sleeping, or getting more food or something. No, it's every wipe is a learning experience. You should take something away from every single wipe you did, even if it's on something that's farm. And that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at the logs. I'm going over that kind of stuff and seeing, why did we wipe this time? Who caused it? What did they stand in? What did I stand in? all these different things, because you should be learning from every single one.
And I think that it's important that it's not about blame necessarily. It's about correcting.
It's always the mage's fault.
It's about correcting behavior and about how not to repeat that. It's about how to make sure that all 10 or 25 folks can make it through the encounter okay and defeat the boss.
Right.
So,
I mean, even for Xanatar, from a one-off perspective, when you're doing dungeons, if you die for any reason doing dungeons, know why you died. What did you do wrong? What could you have done better? Did you have defensive abilities that were weren't on cooldown? You didn't use them. Know those kind of things. Look at what happened, and that's going to help you a lot. That's going to help you become a better raider. Sure.
And you can also look to add-ons a little bit, because I know that a lot of people use certain add-ons for raiding, like GTFO and other such things. I mean, there's always recount and whatever, but things like GTFO, which is
that's huge.
Yeah, that's one of those big things where it's a raid awareness add-on. It's there to help you stand outside of the poo. You might want to start building that up too.
That's such a key add-on, especially now that I'm playing Melee, and I've become obsessed now with Melee. I love Melee, but there's so much stuff on the ground that I think I'm fine, and then all of a sudden I hear the brr, brr. I'm like, oh, I guess there's something underneath the 10,000 other spell effects at my feet, and then you move.
Right.
But yeah, GTFO is amazing. I love that add-on.
Did you see this week as well? There's been so much news this week, it's hard to kind of keep track of everything. But they were also talking about how they're going to try to really pare down all the spell effects and make sure that the visual clutter is going to be going away. So hopefully you won't need an add-on to make sure that you're not standing in the poo in raids.
So much of that.
I know.
So much spell clutter.
I know.
There's really a lot. Like when you're on Protectors, like as Melee, like holy.
Yeah, Protectors is awful. Protectors is
insane.
Because you all have to get it underneath that bubble, right, for Protectors. Right. And then the poison starts going on the ground, and nobody knows that they're standing in poison unless they have like GTFO or something. And it's just a nightmare.
There's a lot on the ground.
There's a lot on the ground. And then that guy comes in with the crane kick. I mean,
Still remember in the mob beta before they had, because what they do now is if I cast an ability and someone else does the same thing and they're the same class, it diminishes the graphics on there, so it's not as bright.
Right.
But in the mob beta, before they did any of that, when you'd pull a boss, it was like a fireworks show. There were just graphics everywhere. There were just things all over the ground. There were, mages using their runes, and nobody knew what they were except the mages, so people were actively avoiding them. I mean, it was people trying to jump over priest halos because they didn't know what they did. I mean, it was
nice.
It was so ridiculous.
Well, I remember that carried into MSV when I was bringing my mage raiding with asparagus, and I dropped my rune down, and people were like, "What is that?" Oh,
right, or
it's cool,
or like Mega Code with his flashbang thing that he would set off all the time. His trinket would go off, and it would blind everybody in the raid.
It was crazy. A flashbang that would blind you instantly.
Yeah, it was not good at all. Ooh. And so I think they're trying to rework some of that as well. Where the little spells, the smaller spells in your arsenal would have smaller spell effects, and then the more important ones would have larger spell effects, because there's been some spells over time that just don't make sense. You have this big huge spell effect for this little tiny benefit for everybody or whatever.
Right.
It's not good. So they're reworking some of that stuff. But do we answer the actual question? We got totally off track.
I think we did.
Close enough.
Close enough. Okay. We have another one from Bree Ty. Sorry. And Coltrane, can you grab this one?
Sure. From Bree Ty said, just finished listening to this week's show. I completely agree that essentially boycotting boosters is stupid. However, the idea that a player's level of gear doesn't matter isn't realistic. I personally use eye level as a base requirement because I don't know the player, and therefore need some assurance that they will be able to perform at a similar level as the rest of the group so we can continue to progress. I am not looking for a carry. Granted, The eye level of a character is never an indication on how good they are, but it is a baseline on how well they could perform. Because let's face it, you can be the best player in the world, but you're only going to do so much damage or so much healing with a 535 eye level average. Also, depending on some mechanics in a fight, having a low eye level, i.e. 540, for normal Garrosh could prevent some players from living just from RNG or dealing with unavoidable AoE mechanics, which I've personally seen. That didn't make them a bad player. We just had to adjust damage mitigations to ensure their survival. Thanks for giving us such an awesome podcast. Long live the beard.
Which is now gone. Which is now gone. The beard is gone, everybody.
I had to trim the beard. It was in transition. I had to meet people, and I had transition beard. I didn't have full-on beard. It was transition beard, and transition beard looks bad. All right, moving on.
Right. So I kind of get this, but we're talking about last week. We talked about how the boosters, the guys that use boost to 90, might get shut out of the deal, or some raid leaders are like, oh well, I'm not going to take somebody that boosted their character to 90 because obviously they can't play. If that's the case, and we came out and we said that's dumb.
Yes.
And so what do you think of this, Darius? This little thing about eye level.
I mean, eye level is an indicator as to how well they could perform, but it's not in any way indicator as to how well they're going to perform. I see it. My paladin that had a 509 eye level or something when we went into normal Siege of Orgrimmar, and I did just fine. I consider myself a good player, and the healers were aware of the fact that I was a little bit squishier than the other tank, but
you were.
Yeah. But that's not, I mean, I would get rejected for every other raid group because they'd see that I had a 510 eye level and I'm trying to go into Siege. That's not, it's no indication whatsoever of how well I can play. Yeah, I'm going to have to use my cooldowns a lot more. I'm going to have to rely on healers and things like that. But if you're, we're talking here, if you're going to be pulling people in for heroic progression and you're looking at their eye level and their low, that's one thing. They're just not going, if they're at a 510 eye level, they're just not going to be able to survive melee hits from the boss or something like that.
Right.
But I think we're trying to, with all this eye level stuff and boosters and stuff, we're trying to make excuses for what's going on here, and it's people just not wanting to give anybody a chance because they think that because they have a low eye level or they boost or whatever that they're bad players, and I just think that's a terrible way to view this game and people in the game.
Yeah, it is kind of a cop out. Right.
Yeah.
And I understand. While I understand that you want people to have a certain eye level to be able to go into the raid because you want them to be safe and be able to live through different mechanics, I don't think that you can say this player will perform at this level because this is what their eye level is.
Yeah, I mean, Asparagus Initiative, we had Torage had his warrior in our group, and he was constantly undergeared. Because he wasn't getting the drops, he wasn't getting weapons, things like that. I mean, he was 10, 15 eye levels under everyone else in the raid, and everyone else is pretty good, but he would be number one DPS every time. He was an amazing player, and still is. He hasn't gone anywhere. But right. It's things like that. You have no idea what this person is before you invite them. So saying that they're at a 535 eye level, and that means that they're going to pull the DPS of the other 535 in your raid or your alt you have is incorrect. I mean,
yeah,
they might pull less, they might pull more.
And Torage is amazing. I mean, he really does pull off amazing numbers, like week to week. Of course, he does really study his craft. I mean, you were just talking about it before, Colt. So, I mean, Torage is a really great guy to have on your team, no matter what.
I think.
But go ahead.
I think what Britai is saying too is like, let's take the fight like Garrosh. Garrosh has a part where he does this thing called whirling corruption.
Yeah.
Where he's just going to spin around and he's just going to do unavoidable AoE damage. Now, I think what his point is, if you have a higher eye level, let's say I'm at this level, but if I had a higher eye level, my health would be, I would have 10,000 more health with more gear.
Right.
So therefore, I could maybe survive another tick of damage from this normal Garrosh that I wouldn't normally. Even if you're blowing all your cooldowns or whatever, I think that's his point, is that like this could help with I think his point of eye level is he's not looking to be carried or anything like that, but
Right.
he just knows that they'll have more health. They'll be able to, it could be the worst player in the world or the best, but they'll have more damage to help DPS down and add to meet maybe some of these DPS checks. You know what I mean?
And that is a concern and a valid one. I think that's actually very valid. And yes, you will have more health to deal with, so you can be able to avoid some of that stuff. But I think that in general, it's just kind of.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking heroics, that's a different beast. That's different, especially in progression heroic. And the Empress in Heart of Fear, she was something like that. She had an ability that would just hit the raid, and it would, for almost everyone in there, even with the gear we had during World First Progression, if we weren't popping all of our cooldowns, we were going to die. It simply did more damage than everyone had health.
Right.
But when you're talking, flexes, LFRs, even normals, it's different. The gear, it makes less of an impact than the type of player.
Well, especially like 5 points, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
just a couple points.
Yeah, a couple of points is not going to make a big difference, and so having those hard cutoffs is kind of strange as well.
Yeah. The gear is no indication as to the type of player they are, and nor are people boosting that. That's
right.
Makes me angry.
But what I like about Britai is that he is not one of those guys. He's judging by this email, he's not one that's like, well, if you boosted, then I don't want you. And he's also not saying, well, if you got a low eye level, then you're a bad player. He's not saying that.
Right.
He's simply saying that you might have a little bit more health, that you might be able to survive that last tick versus somebody that has way less gear.
And I understand, bringing an eye level 505 character into the Garrosh fight is not going to be realistic because of health, because survivability is just low.
It's going to be impossible.
So I totally get that. However, if you're just talking about like 5 points or something, 535 versus 540, that's a little bit grayer of an area for me.
I just don't think we should be having this conversation like this, because it's just, like I said, it's a cop-out. It's an excuse to exclude people based on nothing other than gear or what they're wearing.
That's true.
Whether you're talking about 5 point difference or health or whatever it is, it's the wrong conversation to be having.
Yeah, it should be about the quality
of the player
mindset.
And
I agree.
Yeah, you're right.
I agree.
And I'm not saying Britai is a bad person or anything like that. I just think we need to be steering all of this in different directions. And
it should be about quality of player.
It's about the player, not the gear.
That's right. And actually, as we move into Warlords, we're going to see that more and more as well. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the directions that from the sense that I get from everything that's happening for Warlords is that they want that to be the case. They want it to be about the player and not necessarily the gear. The gear is just nice to have. So I don't know. Anyway, we should probably get out of here. So let's do that. Let's talk a little 5-star action and play Derry's favorite music.
Yes. I gotta admit, it's kind of growing on me.
See, that's what country music does. It grows on.
It kind of grows on you. It's like a fungus.
Yeah, it's like a fungus. It is like exactly like a fungus. All right.
That's right.
So, Darius, what do we have for 5-star reviews this week?
We've got She Budin. We've got Doug XD45, Brody Herb, Jay Richa, Zoe and Volda. Wow. People have amazing names.
Don't they, though?
I dig it.
That's cool. Oof. And thanks, guys, for all the comments, all the shares, everything for YouTube and the video stuff that we do. Thank you for all of that stuff. Any shout-outs this week, fellas?
I got 2, baby.
2?
Yes. Those shout-outs. I've got a shout-out to Night Vamp. He's in CTR. Yeah. He turned 38 on February 16th.
Hey!
So happy birthday to Night Vamp. He's actually a great guy.
Happy birthday!
Several times in Mumble.
Little applause there.
Woo! And also, there's another birthday.
Yeah.
But listen to this. Shout out to Ionar, Iohnar. It's either an I or an L. In CTR Nalik, whose wife gave birth to a son just the other day.
Oh, wow.
So congratulations.
That's another big applause right there.
Woo-hoo!
Congratulations.
Yes.
It is the time for birthdays.
It is.
It's actually my birthday tomorrow.
Yes, it is.
Well, so
happy birthday.
So thank you.
And it's my birthday in December. Wait.
You get nothing for that.
That's
you get nothing for that.
Well, happy birthday, Zuggers.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
That's awesome.
How old are you going to be? 19?
I'm going to be 174.
Wow, you look terrible for your age.
Yeah, I know.
Really? I mean, my goodness.
I look old for 174.
Not a day over 50.
Well, thank you for that. Appreciate
Happy
it.
birthday, man.
Well,
Happy
thanks. We cannot do the show without you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to rate us on iTunes. Thanks for all the comments and questions that you guys bring us all the time, everywhere that we are. And please feel free to join in on the conversations we're having. And I'm gonna just bail out on the music right there.
You're just gonna bail out.
Just bail right out of that, and I'm gonna play this one.
Ooh,
yeah.
You know what you did? You hay bailed out of it.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes, I did. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's not bad. All right.
No.
You can always email us at convertraid@gmail.com. You can call and leave comments and questions on our raid line, 612-787-RAID. That's 612-787-7243. You can follow us on Twitter at ConvertToRaid or individually, Isn't That Right, Coltrane.
You can follow Pat Crane at Pat Crane. You can follow Coltrane at _Coltrane. And you can follow Dairies at Board Mine.
That is correct. And for all of the stuff and so much more, you can head over to Convert to Raid, where we have our shows for audio download. We have our video shows over there. Our video shows also available on GameBreaker.tv, as always. But over at Convert to Raid, we have the links for Raiders. We've got a lot more. We've got more coming up. Probably this week as well. And I won't say it until it's actually up on the site. But be looking to the site. That's what I'm going to say. So there. For our show is also available on Stitcher, the BlackBerry Podcast Directory, iTunes, all sorts of other places. And what else? That's going to be it for the show. Hope you guys had a good time. 5.4.7 this week.
Yes!
Get ready!
It's coming!
It is coming! Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you on our next show next week at our regular time, Sunday, 11 a.m. Central. And for all the guys that Convert to Raid, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.